Hey y'all, it's Jess from Hobby Jobby Creations, and today we're going to be doing a tutorial on my process for Shrinky Dinks or shrink plastic sheets. Now I know that all of us have our own process, our own style. I know that we progress over time and learn new tips and tricks. So as of right now, this is just my process as I do it. Now first things first, I grab my shrink plastic sheet and I have a design that I want to do. I don't know why I decided that I wanted to do my logo because it's pretty complex for this, but anyway, here we are. And I just grab a regular pencil. Then I just take my pencil and I trace my design onto the cloudy side of the sheet. Now, if you have a sheet that has two shiny sides, don't worry, all you have to do is sand one side of the sheet and then draw onto that side. Now it's time to color that bad boy. While I know some people use paints, markers, Sharpies, etc., I just use plain old color pencils. Now I know some people say to aim for softer color pencils. I know some of y'all know what I mean by that. It's a thing, I can't really explain it very well, but don't worry about spending a whole lot of money. I just use basic color pencils and they work really great for me and the pigment comes out just fine. Now here's where I bring in my Sharpies. I use the super fine tip Sharpie. It just makes it easier to get smaller lines and I just accentuate all the outlines on my design. Anything that I want to pop, I smack the Sharpie on that bad boy. Also, if you are using markers like I do, make sure that you use the permanent ones and not the washable ones. If y'all are interested, drop me a comment and in the future I might do a for science video where we try out different types of markers, pencils, even crayons. We'll see why they do and don't work and what they do when you do use them. So again, if you're interested in that, just drop me a comment below and I will make it happen. Now let's get back to the actual tutorial. So we're cutting this guy out, and when we do, we want to be very careful. So you want to try not to take any sharp corners or anything like that. So you see how I'm constantly kind of going in straight and then I'm turning it, I'm flipping it. You don't want to do those sharp corners and all that because you don't want to possibly tear the plastic or bruise it, which is where it kind of tears but not fully, so it just leaves like a white spot on it in your corner, and then sometimes things break off. So just be very careful with this process and take your time, don't feel rushed, and just work with it. It'll work, you just have to work with it. Now I know some of y'all are thinking, how's she about to get that middle boy out of there? Well, let me show you my little mini hack. I just use my hole puncher and then I take my scissors and I get back in there. This is just what works for me. I know some people would go ahead and just go in with their X-Acto knife. I don't do that because the material's kind of thick and I feel like I have more control with my scissors. So I just use the X-Acto knife at the very end for an edge up. So as I'm finishing up with my X-Acto knife, I'm noticing that I did cut into some of my outlines. So all I do is take a Sharpie and I just go over those around the edges right fast just to make them look more uniform again. Now I set my oven to about 320, 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's the best part. It's time to shrink. So we are going to keep the shiny side up. So that means that you're going to put the side that you actually drew and colored on down, and I just lay it on some parchment paper, so I don't know, just so that it doesn't stick to anything, no accidents happen. But yeah, so you're just gonna stick it in the oven and you're just gonna watch him bubble and bend. Don't touch him, he's fine, he'll flatten back out, don't worry. This is truly my favorite part to watch. I just think it's so cool. But anyway, so when he finally flattens back out, and this process only takes like a minute or two, so keep an eye on him. Once he flattens back out, you're gonna open up the oven, you're gonna take him out. And there he is, he's nice and shrink-a-dinked. And now you'll notice that the colors are a little darker, a little more vibrant, and that's why I don't mind just using basic color pencils. Now, if you're just giving these to your kids or keeping them for yourself, you could stop there. But I sell these to customers and I make keychains, so I have to seal them and I'm going to use polyacrylic for that. But first, on the shiny side, I am going to sand that down so that the polyacrylic actually has something to stick to and grip to. Now I just use something with a fine grit. This is actually just something I got in the nail section at the store. So that works just fine. You don't need anything special. After I get done sanding him off, I'm gonna wanna go ahead and wipe off all that dust. Again, just so that, you know, we're not having anything stuck on there that's stopping the polyacrylic from sticking to it or anything like that. Small hack I use to keep my Shrinky Dink in place when I'm working is I take a little patch of painter's tape and I stick it down on my workspace. and then I can have a lot more control. Then I just take a small paintbrush and I do a thin coat of polyacrylic over the top of the first side. I do constantly clean my paintbrushes and things off. It's just because I don't want it to dry and then I have a hard time cleaning them off later, so I just clean them off in between. After he dries, I'm going to flip him over, and then I'm going to take the paintbrush and I'm going to paint the polyacrylic over the other side as well, and I'm going to let him sit again to dry. And I usually let them dry. They don't take long because they're so small. So it usually only takes maybe 10 to 20 minutes tops for them to dry. Now, if you're making something that only looks good from the front, or that you're only going to look at from the front, such as my logo, it's not going to look too good if you're reading it backwards. So at that point, I just take some regular acrylic paint and I just paint a white coating onto the back of my Shrinky Dink. That way, kind of like putting a drawing on a white piece of notebook paper, you're going to be able to see it better because it's on that white background. So the white background really helps you to see the colors and to be able to read it instead of having that transparent appearance. Because I am super impatient, I did not do multiple coats of this. So after it dried, I just immediately went to the UV resin. So what I did though, because I know my impatience and I didn't want to do an extra coat, all I did was add some white pigment to my UV resin, so that when I do my UV resin coating on the back, that white pigment is kind of like my second coat, just a whole lot faster. And then I also have my UV coating already over it to fully protect it and dome it. So as you can see, I just use my little plastic spoon because that's my tool of choice to spread it out. Then I use a toothpick because these are so small, just to get into those tiny little spots that spoon is definitely gonna make the UV resin spill over on. So that's why I use the toothpick, to just get in those little spots so we don't have any spillage. After that, I'm gonna take my lighter and I'm just gonna run over it real fast just to pop any bubbles. And then I'm going to pop it under my UV light. Now when I pop it under my UV light, I usually let it sit on the 99-second setting on mine, and I do that 3 times just because I really want to be safe. I really want to make sure it's cured. So I do it a total of 3 times for 99 seconds a piece. Once I have finished the back side of my Shrinky Dink, I'm going to flip him back over. And if you'll notice, I forgot to remark on that I do have my little tape hack on the base of my UV light, so that I can keep it in place whenever I put my light over it as well. So that's just something really useful. But anyway, I put the regular UV resin on it, just clear on the front side. I smear it out with my spoon. I end up using my toothpick for the fine details once again. And then after I am done with those fine details, I'm going to run the lighter over it one more time to pop the bubbles. And we're just gonna pop this guy under the light. Once we pop him under the light, we're just gonna do the same thing we did on the back side. 99 seconds, 3 different times. After those 3 times, he should be cured, smooth, and hard to the touch. Then you can do whatever you need to do with him. Sell him, put him in a project, what have you. So anyways, here's my finished product. I hope somebody out there found this video useful, helpful. If you did, like and subscribe to my channel. I'll take that as a sign to go ahead and make more tutorials, maybe some for science videos, whatever content we may come across. Anyway, till then, see y'all later.